I'm Rad Simonpillai, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Okay, so the Kennedy Center has been one of the most prestigious venues in the world for decades. But since Donald Trump fired the board and then decided that he would serve as chair, artists have been canceling their upcoming gigs in droves, including some Canadians. Amanda Rheaume is a singer and songwriter who was scheduled to perform in April, and Louise Penny is a best-selling author who was supposed to launch her latest novel, The Black Wolf, at the Kennedy Center. But not anymore. Amanda and Louise are here with me now. Welcome to Commotion.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Rad. Good to see you, Amanda.
Yeah. Yes, you too, Louise.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for making the time for us. And I'm sure what has been a chaotic week. And Louise, I'm going to start with you. I mean, you said the opportunity at the Kennedy Center, that would have been a career highlight. So why did you decide to pull out?
Well, I'm not going to go through the litany of all the reprehensible things that Mr. Trump has done. I think we're all aware of it. Suffice to say that I think the man is a menace, and to do an event in a venue where he has essentially orchestrated a coup would be to pretty much appear to be complicit to support what it is he's done, not only there but elsewhere. And it wasn't. I wish I could say that it was a decision that I struggled over it, but it wasn't. It was just, I mean, there was no decision tree at all. There was absolutely no doubt that it was the only thing I could do.
Mm-hmm. Well, then, Amanda, let's set aside, let's say what this opportunity, what you would have earned from it, or what you would have spent to make the show happen. What has the cost of canceling this show? What has that been for you? Like, what are you giving up?
Yeah, thanks for asking. And I couldn't agree more with you, Louise. I wholeheartedly agree. I don't know that it's cost me anything at this point. I mean, because I think that doing the performance would have cost me more, even emotionally and spiritually. So I actually, aside, like you said, from the financial things I've already spent to try to go and work in America, I think that I've actually gained more. I think this is the time where we need to be aligning with our values. It's more important than ever. And out of, to me, that's worth everything. So I'm kind of in a no tolerance place, and think that this, this sort of the way he is being there, these acts of violence on humanity, like that is way larger cost to me than canceling this performance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look, Louise, you got about 7,000 comments on your Facebook post where you explained your decision, and so many of those comments have been very warm and supportive, and they were from Americans. So like, what do you make of that reaction?
I was thrilled to see the reaction, because you never really know what you're going to get, obviously, when you put it out on social media. I think it speaks to how many millions of people are equally appalled by what he's doing, and are hungry for any kind of pushback. I think they, like me, probably like Amanda as well, I would imagine, I loved what you just said, are sickened by the lack of pushback, by how many people are falling into line, either because they're frightened or because they actually truly believe that he's doing the right thing. I mean, look at what he did today in Ukraine. Look at Gaza. I mean, it's just there. I said I wasn't going to go through the litany, and there's litany everywhere. But yeah, I think that's what it speaks to, is that people just want to be rallied, to rally around a voice.
Well, it's interesting because it's like, if you look at the reaction to kind of the divisiveness that has been projected onto the hockey games recently, right? Where people, like, with that fire, like, they're fueling a certain fire, they're fueling a division between Canadians and Americans, but that didn't show up in your page. It's like you're finding the nice Americans almost.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that sort of happened a while ago. As you know, I wrote a book with Hillary Clinton, and got a lot of pushback on that. A lot of people were unhappy with me, and so they all left.
Right.
I'm left with the people who, and I have no doubt that I pretty much live in an echo chamber. And the people who reply, for the most part, agree with me and support what it is I'm saying.
Yeah, it's very heartening to see that. And Amanda, I mean, you also shared a post on social media explaining your decision. And so, what's been the reaction to your post?
Similar. I mean, it's been an unexpected positivity, actually. I was not even thinking about what the reaction would be. I just, I knew I had to do something. And like Louise, it wasn't actually that hard of a decision. Of course, I thought about why and what would I lose and all of that, but I sent an email that night. And it's been a really beautiful gift, actually, of this strange scenario, that who has put himself in this place. It's been kind of affirmational, to, like, as artists, I sort of head down, doing my own thing all the time and just trying to get the next thing. And so it's been really heartwarming. And I think that, you know, I think that people are maybe feeling a little helpless. And so when people are taking a stand on these things, that it gives courage, and as an example of that, you can do something, even if it seems like a small thing. And
That's such a good point. Too, about that. As artists, I mean, you do the same thing and I do. I spend all day, for a year essentially on my own, just writing. And it's scary. It is scary to stick your head up and that you've then got a target. But there are some things that are worthwhile, and he is so far crossed a line. He's not towing it. He is so far over it that that we do need to take a stand.
Yeah. Well, what I find really heartening about what you're saying is, because it is scary when you take a stand. It is scary when you're sacrificing these opportunities. It's always so scary. But then you're also, I mean, there's a sense that you're finding a community in this stance. Is that, Amanda, is that what you're finding? Like, are you finding like that, like you're finding your people here when you make these decisions?
Totally. And this is the most important time, I think, even as Canadians in Canada, let alone what's going on south of the border, to come together with like-minded people. We can make a difference, even if it feels sometimes like we can't. I think just even anytime I do a concert, those people that come to those shows, we're gathering together, and there's strength and connection in that. And I think that this is a really beautiful thing that we can do, even, when we feel like we can't make the biggest difference, we can, and it happens in those community-based places.
And Louise, I mean, I know you said that you've already called your followers with the previous book, but like, do you find, like, in your recent actions, you're finding more community in that same way as well?
Yeah, I do. I think that there is, as Amanda said, there's a yearning for a sense of that we're not alone, that we are not a voice in the wilderness, that we have people around us. We have people who agree with us, and there's just huge strength in that. I'm reminded of, I don't know, it's allegorical probably, but someone once told me about what gorillas do when they're attacked. Like, they see a threat coming toward them and they go forward, but as they're going forward to meet the challenge, they're reaching out to make sure they're not alone. And I think that's that's what's happening here. We're each individually going forward, but we need to know that we're not alone, and we're not, that I know that goodness will prevail. I know that decency will prevail, but we have to take chances. We have to speak out.
So, Louise, like, now that Donald Trump is chair of the Kennedy Center, and now that he's appointing new board members to better align with his vision of what a cultural institution should be, I'm curious, like, do you worry about the idea of capitulation? As in, like, when artists like yourselves or Issa Rae or Ben Folds walk away, does that space then get ceded entirely to people whose politics align with the president's?
That is such an interesting question. And it's a difficult one. And I wish that I had an easy answer. I didn't struggle with this one because, as Amanda said so brilliantly before, the cost of doing it is so much greater than the cost of not doing it in this case. I did struggle with an earlier decision that was similar to that, and that's dropping out of Facebook after Zuckerberg, aligned himself with toxic masculinity and got rid of the fact checking, and essentially had a super highway of cognitive hacking. I thought, this is time now I can't, this is disgusting.
Mm.
So I went on and I asked the people who follow me, what do you think? Are you struggling with this too? And they were, but the consensus seemed to be that it was better in this case to stay and form exactly again what Amanda said, a community, and what you said as well, Rad, form a community and a safe place, a refuge for decency, for courtesy, for courage.
Hmm. So, Amanda, like, what is your sense of that in terms of like leaving the space to the president and his allies?
Yeah. I mean, I think I got close to 28,000 likes and like over 1,000 comments, which is a
Mm.
lot for me. And if there was a few peppered in there that said, well, this is exactly what he wants,
Mm.
for you to back out and for your voice to not be there. And, I did think about that going anyway. But well, as a queer Métis woman, I didn't feel safe, first of all, but I know there are other spaces to go. And
Mm.
I just think, having someone like this, him, controlling the narrative in that space, essentially, potentially, who knows, maybe he would have canceled, got rid of my gig anyway, but this was on my own terms. Like, who knows what
Mm.
he's going to do there? And this was on my own terms, and I feel really good about that. And I think that everybody should be very concerned that that the narratives and the voices that we hear and the stories that are told are being influenced by someone like him, but also just a political of a person, the
Mm.
president of
I
America,
think I
Yeah.
think often too that to be successful in any sort of countermeasure, you need to work on different levels, and one would be to work from the inside, which is sort of what you were describing, Rad, or and some of it is what Amanda has done and what I've done and what others have done, and that's to speak out by withdrawing ourselves.
Hmm.
And some is diplomatic, some needs to be more forceful, but we have to work on all sorts of different fronts in order to succeed.
Hmm. Well, then let me put this to you. Like, this is an American institution, okay, and it's founded more than 50 years ago to showcase American culture. Louise, what does that mean? Like, what is that? What's at stake for Canadians?
And well, I think that creativity and imagination has no borders. That if you hurt one of us, you hurt us all. You diminish one of us, you diminish all of us. And so they're American, Canadian, British, Ukrainian, Jewish. It's all, we're all one, and we need to be there for each other. It's a bit like I'm thinking of that Delta crash in Toronto, where everyone,
Mm.
God, miraculously survived, and many of them I think survived because they helped each other. They didn't ask, "Are you American? Are you Canadian?"
Mm.
No, they were. We were just there as human. Not we. I wasn't there, thank God, but they were all there just as human beings.
Hmm.
I think in that way we need to stand up for each other.
Amazing. And, Amanda, how are you feeling about that?
I'm excited at what we can build from out of this. I think all too often I can speak from the music industry. Like we're very often said, like, you got to get to America. It's the biggest music market. You got to go there. Like, leave Canada, leave home. And I'm actually excited. Like, what can we build for ourselves? Like, how can we celebrate our own? How can we return to our own home and our own communities and our own value systems, and not always try to fit ourselves in and like hope to get an opportunity somewhere. I think that this is maybe we look at this as an opportunity where we can return, to our, like I said, to ourselves and celebrate our own artists in that same way.
Mm, I love that. And let me just say, like, I thank you both for being so inspiring and for being here with me to talk to me about this.
Thank you. A pleasure. Thank you, Rad.
Amanda Rheaume's sixth album, The Truth We Hold, is out in April, and Louise Penny's latest novel, The Black Wolf, will be out later this year.